Since the 1920s, the Nationals have played a crucial role in Australian politics, and tonight a new ABC TV series begins looking at the role that the party's played in representing the rural heartland.
It was formed so that people who were in a weak position could get heard. It was formed because people who had been forgotten could get listened to. It was formed because people got sick and tired of saying, well, we'll just try the begging bowl approach and I think that'll work, because it doesn't.
All right, good place, good wool, good length of wool, yeah, very soft.
Going back just a generation or two, virtually everyone who lived in the cities either had an uncle or an auntie who lived in the country, or a grandma and a grandpa where they went for the holidays out in the country. They knew somebody on a farm. They understood a little bit about what agriculture was like. Well, all that's changed now. 80% of Australians are born in the city. We don't spend the time in the country areas that we once did. And I think that our country's the poorer for that.
That's very true. You simply don't. I mean, you remember that as a young person, actually having some farm by some, a grandparent or aunt and auntie to go to. It's different now. A Country Road, the National, starts tonight on the ABC, and joining us is the presenter of that program, Heather Ewart. Heather, good morning.
Good morning.
Known as
I was the kid on the farm that had
yes.
the city kids coming to visit.
It's called the Nationals now, but of course started out as the Country Party.
It did. It began as the Country Party in 1920. It became a federal organisation, but in some states it had formed way before that, first in Western Australia. But 1920 was when it really kicked off federally. And, yeah, it was basically because farmers in particular, but people in the bush, felt they didn't have a voice. And that's probably still the case today.
Yeah, and you look, you start the series with a couple of the characters, the real characters of the National Party, people like Doug Anthony and Ian Sinclair.
Yes, the legends of the party. When I first started in Canberra in 1980 in the Press Gallery, they were very much the giants in the National Party. Doug Anthony was the leader. His friends and close colleagues, Peter Nixon and Ian Sinclair, were there in the Fraser government, and they carried a lot of clout, or we certainly all thought that they did. And so we went to visit them.
On the farm, literally.
On the farm, all of them on the farm. I've been to a lot of farms all over Australia in the past year.
And you took a minimal camera crew so you could basically immerse yourself in their daily life to get a good picture of
Yes.
what they were
Most
up to.
places we were there for at least a couple of days. I drove around with Barnaby Joyce. But yeah, that was the aim, to capture them where they lived and to see just at what the difference is in being a National Party leader or MP. And there certainly is a difference. A lot of them live in quite remote areas. There's huge amounts of driving involved. Or, say, for a former National, Bob Catter, enormous amounts of flying and driving. He's got the second biggest electorate in Australia.
Absolutely.
When they look back on the history of the then Country Party and more recently the National Party, how do the members now regard the fortunes of their party and their decision to go in coalition?
Look, I think the party of today knows that these are very different times. Australian demographics have changed enormously since the party was formed in 1920, federally that is. A lot more people live in the city, there are less and less farmers. So the party of today has a lot more challenges. It has a real juggling act to try and meet what the traditional constituency, that is farmers, want, and what people in country towns and cities want, which is how the party has tried to broaden its appeal over the years.
And also what the Liberal Party wants.
And what the Liberal Party wants, that's right.
Yeah.
And they have very much attached themselves to the Liberal Party over the years to form coalition governments. Coalition governments, the Liberals could not have formed government, by and large, without the Nationals. And a lot of people forget this. They have been crucial to the success of Liberal governments. With a few exceptions, John Howard in 1996 didn't need the Nationals.
But he formed a very strong working relationship with Tim Fischer.
He chose to have a coalition government anyway because he and Malcolm Fraser, at one point he didn't need them either, realised that there would be other elections where the Liberals would need the Nationals again. So they've always stuck by them.
Now, we're going back to one of those early legends, Doug Anthony. I think most Australians playing a word association game with Doug Anthony would come up with the word caravan.
Caravan, and yes, that's right. Look, the other difference to the old days, of course, is that they were, not only I think were they much more outspoken, but they didn't give a toss if they were going to... They were keeping their summer holidays, no matter what. and Doug Anthony was the leader of the charge there, but Peter Nixon, his friend, was the same. So, yes, Doug liked to run the country as Deputy Prime Minister when Malcolm Fraser was away from his caravan.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
I don't know if we have any images.
We do. We have some images of that.
We should absolutely have a look at that while we... I think we can... Yeah, have a look at it now. OK.
Well, I started off by having to use the public telephone down here, and that wasn't very efficient. So as the years came by, we got more and more sophisticated with a caravan here, and the government got a cable put in with me, so I had all modern equipment with telexes and goodness knows what typewriters and my staff. And I discovered recently, here's some of the cable that the PMG department put in for me.
It's still there.
Well, I've dug some of it up and I haven't got rid of it. It's still... Look at it. Here it is. That's where all the communications to Australia and the rest of the world went at that time.
Why did you want to do it from here?
Because I wanted my family down for Christmas. We had this place and I couldn't use it any other time. So it worked in well. Everybody was happy about it.
Including Doug.
Doug was very happy about it.
And for those Gen Ys who might be watching this morning, PMG, Postmaster General, precursor to Telecom, which then became Telstra.
Can you believe those cables were still there? I couldn't believe it.
It's hilarious.
No.
And to hear about telexes again. I can actually remember telexes.
Now, Heather, covering the Nationals involves following the so-called Wombat Trail. And
that's right.
I've been on it. I'm sure you have as well, Virginia.
Yes.
You've written a lovely piece for The Drum about your early travels in the 80s, which involved drinking, how should I say, certain beverages very early in the morning.
I think you're referring to the Bundaberg rum and milk, aren't you, Rolly?
At what
I
time?
was waiting for this.
At
10 a.m. and I've never done it before or since.
Does it work?
It made whatever trip you're on seem a lot shorter, I can tell you that.
This was the way I had to officially be ordained as a junior wombat.
Right.
And so I did. But yeah, they were fun days. That was travelling with
They
Doug
still are
Anthony.
fun. Yeah, the Wombat
Yeah,
Trail.
that was my first ever Wombat Trail. I did quite a few more after that.
Lovely parts of Australia.
It's a good part of the political history to be broadcasting, even at a time during controversial budget cuts to the ABC.
Look, it was wonderful to film, and I think in lots of ways it can't capture every moment of the history of the National Party. We didn't have the time for that. But apart from talking about the party, I hope it also gives city Australians a window on the bush and how life still is there.
Heather, thanks so much.
Thank you.